the food enters the oral cavity, yes, cavitas oris in Latin. In Greek it is stoma, yes. Okay, so about the topography, we can say that oral cavity is located at the level of the first and second cervical vertebrae. Yes, it is skeletotopy. Then about holotopy, we can say that it is located in the lower part of the face. And syntopy, we can say that above the oral cavity there is a nasal cavity, and behind the oral cavity there is oropharynx, oral part of the pharynx, and that is all. And there is nothing below the oral cavity. Okay, so oral cavity is a part of digestive system, yes, and so its function here, first of all, intake of the food takes place, yes, and also mechanical digestion. Mechanical digestion, it means like mixing of the food, yes, by means of teeth, crushing of the food, and also by means of the tongue, so mechanical digestion. Food that enters the oral cavity, it gets divided into small pieces, yes, in the oral cavity. Also, chemical digestion starts here, but chemical digestion of only carbohydrates, because in the saliva that is produced by salivary glands, there is the only enzyme that is amylase, and it can break down only carbohydrates. So it breaks down carbohydrates which are polysaccharides into di and monosaccharides, yes. So for example, a polysaccharide, which products include polysaccharides?
Which one?
Yes, which food do you eat and you know that it contains polysaccharides?
ايه الأطعمة اللي فيها بوليسكروز؟ ايه الأطعمة اللي فيها بوليسكروز؟
هو البوليسكروز عشان
يا ابني البوليسكروز ده اللي هو مجموعة من السكريات تقريبا.
سكريات
تقريبا.
سكروز شوكولاته.
What is it? Chocolate, it's not poly, it's already disaccharide. Yes, it's like a polysaccharide. It is, for example, bread is formed by polysaccharide, by starch, yes? And so when we eat bread, it's actually not sweet, yes? But if, for example, we take bread and we put it into our mouth and we do not swallow, yes? If we do not swallow it for a few minutes, then with the time, you will feel sweet taste in your mouth. Because polysaccharides were broken down into D and monosaccharides, and so these oligosaccharides, they have sweet taste. Yes, so it is a very simple example to prove that indeed carbohydrates are broken down in the oral cavity. So the other function of the oral cavity, it is articulation of speech. Yes, again due to the tongue and due to the teeth, yes, we can form sounds and we can connect them into the words, yes, and so this is articulation of speech. The other function, it is taste, of course, yes, and it is mainly performed this function by the tongue, because there are papilla, taste buds here in the tongue, and also immune function, because in oral cavity there are 3 tonsils which perform immune function. It is lingual, tonsil, and 2 palatine tonsil. We will talk about it later. So about the structure, external structure, I mean, it has 2 parts. There is vestibule in front of the teeth. There is oral vestibule, vestibulum oris, and there is proper oral cavity, cavitas oris proper. It is inside. So the boundaries of oral vestibule, laterally these are cheeks, yes, and anteriorly these are lips, and posteriorly these are teeth and gums. And behind teeth and gums there is oral cavity proper, and here it is, and the boundaries of it are superiorly it is palate, yes, and inferiorly it is oral diaphragm, and laterally and anteriorly there are teeth and gums, and posteriorly there will be an opening that is forces opening. It is a communication between oral cavity and oral part of the pharynx, through which the food after the swallowing enters the pharynx. Yes, so this is forces. There is between superior and inferior teeth there is fissure, oral fissure. It's like a communication between oral cavity proper and vestibule. So you have to know structure of the lips, Yes, and structure of the cheeks. About structure of the cheeks, we can say that from the internal side, it is covered by mucosa, and mucosa of an oral cavity is covered by stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. You didn't attend histology lecture, you don't understand anything I'm saying. Okay, and from outside it is skin, yes? The skin. Between skin and mucosa, there is buccal muscle, musculus,
Buccal muscle.
the buccinator muscle, yes?
Vaccine, okay.
Yeah, and laterally from the buccinator muscle, there is Bishop's body or adipose body, like fatty tissue. It is especially well developed in children, in newborns. That's why the cheeks are very big, yes? So this function of this fatty tissue here, first of all, it helps in sucking. Sucking, do you understand? To-
ايوه ايوه
Da.
بس
Da.
نص
Yes, and also it is not like a common type of adipose tissue, but it is brown fat, and it is like highly energetic, like it contains very many calories. That's why these newborns, they can survive in very severe conditions without a food. They can live for a rather long time, because this just adipose body will be spent for their functioning, yes? So this is the structure of the cheeks. Then, about the palate in superior wall, we studied hard palate, yes, bony palate, palatum durum. It is bony structure that is formed by bones. You will have to revise it, how it is formed, by the next lesson. So, palate is superior wall of the oral cavity and inferior wall of the nasal cavity at the same time. So, anterior part of it, it is bony palate or hard palate. Posterior part, it is soft palate. Palatum molle in Latin, palatum molle. So it is, anterior part is bony structure, and posterior part it is muscular structure. There are several muscles, and they are covered by mucosa. You have to know all the muscles, like the function of the soft palate. It also participates in swallowing. It serves as a barrier between nasal, like respiratory pathway and oral pathway, yes, during the swallowing for the air not to pass, yes. So you have to know all the muscles of the soft palate, its origin, insertion, and action. Here we can see there are two muscles. One of them is palatoglossal muscle, musculus palatoglossus, that goes from the palate to the tongue, and above this muscle there is a mucosal fold that has the same name. It is palatoglossal fold, yes, plica palatoglossus. Behind it, this one, there is palatopharyngeal fold and palatopharyngeal muscle. There is also musculus levator veli palatini that is elevate palatine veil. This descending part of the soft palate, and there is musculus uvula in the very center, this one. So you will study it. And so here, between two folds, in palatoglossal and palatopharyngeal folds, there is tonsillar fossa, fossa tonsillaris. And in this tonsillar fossa, there is palatine tonsil. Palatine tonsil, tonsilla palatina. So it is immune tissue, lymphoid tissue, yes, and sometimes it gets inflamed, and this palatine tonsils, they increase their size, and sometimes they are covered by this white plates. It's like leukocytes, and then we say that it is tonsillitis, yes, or angina. You know
بتتكلم
angina?
عن اللوز
angina.
بتتكلم عن اللوز
Uh-huh.
يعني
No, like when
دي
huh?
اللوز
No, like if it is even visible if you open your mouth, and it will be visible.
It's
هي
on-
اللوز
Da. Da.
اللوز.
اللوز.
Okay, so here there is palatine tonsil. Fine. What else you have to know? That inferior wall of the oral cavity is oral diaphragm, and it is formed by mylohyoid muscle mainly. It is one of the suprahyoid muscles, yes, and partially by geniohyoid muscle as well. So this is inferior wall. Okay. Yes. So what is the composition? What is the content of the oral cavity? First of all, it contains teeth, yes, and tongue, and also minor salivary glands are present also here. So about the teeth, we should know in general about the teeth, the structure of the tooth. You will read it yourself, yes, and that there is classification of the teeth, that anterior, like the medial one teeth, they are incisors and they serve to bite, yes, and then canine, which serve for the crush, yes, one canine tooth only, and then there are 2 premolars and 3 molars, the most posterior teeth. This is dental formula of the permanent teeth, yes? Permanent teeth. So 2 incisors, 1 canine, 2 premolars and 3 molars. Totally it's from one maxilla or in 1/2 of the mandible. So totally how many permanent teeth are in adult person?
permanent teeth. All teeth it's 32.
32, yes. So in adult people they are 32. And in children there are only milk teeth. And they are again 2 incisors and 1 canine, but there are no premolars and there are only 2 molars. So how many milk teeth are there in children?
Milk teeth in children.
يعني كم واحدة ما
teeth 16.
16.
الأسنان اللبنية اللي في الطفل
24.
ما مش زيادة هي.
مش أي عدد وخلاص هي 32 خواطر. يعني
It's like
It's like what?
it's like Zaius, and I think it's also 32.
No, I'm telling you, there are no premolar teeth in children and there are only 2 molars.
2 molars.
Yes.
30 يعني
4 4 8
يا ابني كله كده يبقى
16
لا
16
طب ما هو عارف
لا في درسين في كل ده
it's decreased 2 molar. I think it's
واربع أسنان فوق وتحت 8
30.
How many?
30.
30. They are 20, I told you.
20.
From in every maxilla and in 1/2 of the mandible, there are 2 incisors and 1 canine, and there are no premolars, and there are 2 molars. So 5 in every maxilla. So 5 you should multiply to 4, and it will be 20, yes? So you also have to study dental formulae of milk teeth and permanent teeth for the next lesson, and structure of the tooth as well. Okay, then tongue. This is a tongue. In Latin it is lingua. In Greek it is glossa, and it is organ of digestive system. And it's like here it is. It is located in the oral cavity, and it's muscular organ, and the function of it also it participates in mechanical and chemical digestion, because here in the tongue there are also lingual salivary glands, and they produce saliva. Mechanical digestion, yes, taste, speech articulation, yes, and also immune function. Immune function is due to the presence of lingual tonsil here in the root of the tongue. So it is again immune tissue. So that is the immune function of the tongue. It is located in the oral cavity and posterior part of the tongue, root of the tongue. It is attached to the floor of the oral cavity, to the inferior wall of the oral cavity here. So this is like anatomic position, da, yes. Okay, so what are the parts, external structure of the tongue? There is root, radix, then there is body, corpus, and there is apex. Superior surface is named dorsum, back, dorsum, yes, and inferior surface, just facies inferior. Superior surface is absolutely free, and inferiorly just anterior parts are free, and posterior 2/3, they are attached to the inferior wall of the oral cavity by means of frenulum. This is frenulum. This one is frenulum.
Frenulum.
Yes.
اللي هي البتاع دي
This is frenulum.
هي الخط ده الخط ده
Da. Okay, and also there are lateral margins, margo lateralis here. There are 2 grooves, sulcus medianus, between 2 halves of the tongue, and sulcus terminalis, terminal sulcus, between root of the tongue and body of the tongue. So this is external structure. It is muscular organ, but these muscles, they are covered by mucosa. And what is this mucosa? Has a specific feature. The specific feature of the mucosa of the tongue, it is a presence of papillae. You have to know all the papillae which are present here in the tongue. First, the most numerous, they are conic papillae and filiform papillae. No, they are numerous, like they are everywhere. Conic and filiform papillae. Then a little bit larger, this one, fungiform papillae. This one, this one, yes. These are fungiform papillae. Fungi means mushroom, yes, fungus, mushroom. Why is it named fungiform? Due to its shape. Like this fungiform papillae, they have a leg, yes, and then a cap, like a white cap. Looks, huh?
It's like umbrella.
Like umbrella or like a mushroom.
Yes, mushroom too.
Yes. Okay, and also there are foliate papillae, papillae foliata, which are present at the lateral margins. Folia means leaf. So it's either like pages in the book or like leaves on the trees. Yes, like the ricin. This one. And the last one, the fifth group, it is volate papillae, papillae vallata. This one, the largest one, volate papillae. They are present at the level of terminal sulcus, and terminal sulcus is V-shaped, and the position of this papillae is also V-shaped.
And what is the anatomical position, please, again?
Anatomical position is, like if person is lying on the back, it's like this. Like this.
The anatomical position on the organs, it's on the, when
Yeah.
it has it?
Like that, yes. For the organs, it's like that, yes. Okay, so these papillae, all of them have receptors, but not all of them have taste receptors. Taste, not all of them have, yes? So taste receptors are present only in volate papillae and in fungiform papillae and in foliate papillae. Conic and filiform, the smallest one, they do not have taste buds, taste receptors, but they have receptors of general sensation, yes? So they can feel, that's why, pain, temperature, pressure, and so on, but not taste, yes? Taste it, понятно, да?
Yes, yes.
Это звук.
Это
Да.
they-
Yeah, when I know it. Okay, fine. Yes,
So,
under
please again, which word have no test?
conic and filiform, like the most numerous papillae, which are between the fungiform everywhere, they do not contain taste receptors. Only fungiform papillae contain, and volate, and also foliate papillae, they contain taste receptors. So, under the mucosa, there are muscles of the tongue, and all of them formed by striated muscular tissue. And all the muscles of the tongue, they are divided into two groups, yes? Intrinsic muscles and extrinsic muscles. Intrinsic muscles of the tongue, they start in the tongue and also in the tongue. And extrinsic muscles of the tongue, they originate somewhere outside of the tongue, but they are inserted to the tongue. So first, let's start with intrinsic muscles of the tongue. They are four. There is superior longitudinal muscle, inferior longitudinal muscle, vertical muscle, it's visible only laterally, and transverse muscle. So superior longitudinal muscle starts, both of them, superior and inferior longitudinal muscles, they originate from the root of the tongue and they go to the apex, yes? So but the action of superior and inferior longitudinal muscles is a little bit different. So both of them, during contraction, they decrease the length of the tongue, yes? But superior longitudinal muscle, it pulls the apex upward, apex of the tongue upward, yes? And the inferior longitudinal muscle, it pulls it downward. Yes. So then also there is vertical muscle, musculus verticalis. It is here. It goes from superior surface of the tongue to the inferior surface, and during the contraction, it flattens the tongue. It becomes flat. And transverse muscle, it goes from one lateral margin to another lateral margin in the middle, and during the contraction, it makes the tongue narrow and thick. Yes? Narrow
more
and
thinner.
thicker. Thicker it will be in case if this, yes, in case of the contraction of vertical muscle. So these are intrinsic muscles. Extrinsic muscles, they are also four. One of them we have already said. At the same time, it belongs to the soft palate. It is palatoglossus muscle. During the contraction of palatoglossus muscle, tongue moves upward and backward. Yes. There is also genioglossus muscle that goes from the mental spine to the tongue and it pulls a tongue forward and downward. There is also styloglossus muscle that goes from the styloid process of the temporal bone, and it goes to the tongue also. Okay, and it pulls the tongue backward, yes, and hyoglossus that goes from the hyoid bone and to the tongue, and it pulls the tongue also backward and downward. So there are 4 extrinsic muscles of the tongue. Okay, that was about the tongue. Salivary glands now. So salivary glands are glands which produce saliva, yes, and salivary glands are divided into 2 groups also. There are major salivary gland and minor salivary glands. Minor salivary glands are small ones, they are small, and they are located in the wall of the oral cavity, and there are several groups, like there are palatine salivary glands, lingual salivary glands, molar salivary glands at the level of the molar teeth, buccal salivary glands, labial salivary glands, which are located in the internal surface of the lips. And major salivary glands, they are located outside of the oral cavity, but their excretory duct opens into the oral cavity. So there are 3 pairs of major salivary glands. It is, first of all, this one, it is submandibular salivary gland, glandula submandibularis. There is also sublingual salivary gland. This one, here it is. This is sublingual salivary gland, yeah. Okay, it is right under the tongue, yes. And there is parotid salivary gland. Here we can see it. It is located in front of the ear, and here we even can see excretory duct of parotid gland that opens at the second upper molar tooth. Yes, at the level of the second upper molar tooth. Okay. Excretory ducts of submandibular and sublingual salivary glands, they open here at the frenulum, where there is sublingual caruncle, and also along of this sublingual fold everywhere, excretory ducts of sublingual salivary gland, they open. It was a classification according to the size. There is another classification of salivary gland according to the composition of saliva that is produced by these glands. So actually saliva mainly consists of water. Yes, like 99% it is water. But also there is this enzyme, amylase, as I told you, yes, that breaks down carbohydrates. And also there is mucin and lysozyme. So these are special substances which kill bacteria. And depending on the fact which substance is predominant in the saliva, all the salivary glands are divided into glands with serous type of secretion, and the gland with mucus type of secretion, and glands with mixed type of secretion. So glands with serous type of secretion, they mainly produce amylase. And glands with mucus type of secretion, they produce mucin and lysozyme. And mixed, they produce both. So parotid gland, it is a gland with serous type of secretion, and submandibular gland is with mucus, and sublingual it is mixed. You will study it also. Everything is written in the book. Okay, that was about salivary glands. Okay, so food comes here to the oral cavity, and it gets broken into small pieces, and also digestion of carbohydrates starts, yes, and after that it gets swallowed, and swallowed, is it clear? Yeah. So the swallowing, not all the food that is in your mouth, it gets swallowed at the same time, yes, some parts, and this part that is swallowed once, like one swallowing, this part of food is named bolus. Bolus, yes? So bolus, it is a part of the food that was swallowed and that is surrounded by saliva, and that passes through the pharynx and through the esophagus up to the stomach. So it is bolus. So this bolus reaches pharynx. Pharynx, we can see it here, pharynx. It is pharynx in Greek and in Latin and in English is the same. So it is an organ of both digestive and respiratory system. It has, okay, let's say first about topography, yes? So skeletotopy, it starts from the pharyngeal tubercle of the occipital bone and it ends at the level of the sixth cervical vertebra.
5.
Да, 6. Okay, and holotopy, we can say it is located in the face and in the neck region, yes? No, in the neck mainly, okay. And syntopy, like, it has 3 parts. There is nasopharynx, nasal part of the pharynx. It is located behind the nasal cavity. There is oropharynx. It is behind the oral cavity. And there is laryngopharynx. It is behind the larynx. So, yes, the function of this organ, it is to transport the food, the bolus, from the oral cavity to the esophagus and to transport the air from the nasal cavity to the larynx. So, in the nasopharynx, only air passes, yes? And in the laryngopharynx, only food passes because air enters the larynx. But in the oropharynx, air and food, they meet together, yes? And it is like very dangerous place. That's why, for example, there are many proverbs and always children are said, adult people, they say to children that when you eat, you shouldn't speak, yes? Because during eating, when you swallow the food, epiglottis, this one, cartilage of larynx, it closes entrance into larynx and does not allow the food enter yes, to respiratory pathway, yes? If we start speaking and during eating, yes, then epiglottis won't have time to close it, and probably the food will enter larynx and then trachea and then lungs, and it will cause suffocation. Yes, so person will die because of the respiratory failure. Yes.
Or someone will help you from my church.
If you are lucky. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Someone behind us.
So. This is hollow organ, pharynx, yes, and it has 3 parts, I told you. About the pharynx, you have to know the communications. It has very many communications. So communication between nasal cavity and nasopharynx is a choany. And you studied it when you studied craniology. If you don't remember, please revise structure of choany. Then, communication between oral cavity and oropharynx, it is fauces. Then communication between laryngopharynx and larynx, it is entrance into the larynx, it's here. And also distally, inferiorly, larynx continues to the esophagus. Yes. And also there is one more communication, it is here, it is auditory tube or eustachian tube. It is a communication between nasopharynx and middle ear. It is required to equalize the pressure in the middle ear and in the external environment. Behind this auditory tube, there is torus tubarius, this one, like elevated area, and it contains a tubal tonsil also. It's paired, another tonsil, tubal tonsil. And also recently it was discovered that also here there is another salivary gland, major salivary gland, tubal salivary gland. It was recently discovered. And here at the vault of the pharynx, at the most superior part of the pharynx, there is one more unpaired tonsil. It is pharyngeal tonsil. So totally there are 6. There are 2 unpaired lingual tonsil and pharyngeal tonsil, and 2 paired tonsils, palatine tonsil and tubal tonsils. They are 6, and they are making like a circle, like a ring, yes, at the region of fauces, at the region of communication between oral cavity and pharynx. This set of tonsils has a name. It is known as Piragov's-Waldeyer lymphoepithelial ring. Piragov's-Waldeyer lymphoepithelial ring. So it is present here because in the oral cavity there are very many foreign particles. Yes, like it is the dirtiest place in our body, it is our mouth, because we intake everything not properly treated. Like it is, no, it's so. And that's why we shouldn't allow something foreign to enter inside, yes, pharynx and some other organs, and that's why here there is a very good protection that is formed by lymphoid tissue. It is Pyragos-Valdeir lymphoepithelial ring. Okay, that's it. Fine. It is, let's continue with the pharynx, yes? So pharynx, it is hollow organ, so it has, in the wall, it has 4 layers: mucosa, submucosa, muscular layer, and adventitia, the outermost. So mucosa here, mucosa of the pharynx, it is covered in different parts by different type of epithelium. So in oropharynx and in laryngopharynx, it is the same epithelium that is present in the oral cavity. It is stratified, squamous, non-keratinized epithelium. In the nasopharynx, the epithelium is the same as it is in the nasal cavity. It is ciliated epithelium. So cilia means lashes, yes? So these lashes, they do not allow, again, some dust, some foreign particles enter, and they vibrate towards the exit of the, exit from the nasal cavity, yes? And so that's why dust does not enter, also lower respiratory tract. Then there is submucosa. It helps in formation of folds, yes. Then there is muscular layer. So muscular layer is formed by striated muscular tissue. It is formed by 2 longitudinal muscles. One of them is palatopharyngeal, that we have already said. Yes, it's the same time it belongs to the soft palate. Another one, it is stylopharyngeal, from the styloid process of the temporal bone to the pharynx. And there are 3 circular muscles. These are constrictors: superior, middle, and inferior constrictor of the pharynx. You will read about them. You should know also origin, insertion, and action of these muscles. Okay, and the outermost layer, it is adventitia. And that is all about the pharynx. Okay, so at the level of the 6 cervical vertebra, pharynx continues to the esophagus. This is esophagus. Esophagus. In Latin, it is esophagus, and in Greek, it is also esophagus. So it is, again, organ of digestive system, and its main function is transport of the bolus from the pharynx to the stomach, yes? So it is very long, and its cheletotopy. It starts from the 6th cervical vertebra, and its inferior boundary is at the level of the 11th thoracic vertebra, where it continues to the stomach. And holotopy. We haven't studied it yet, just you will have to memorize. First of all, we have to know that esophagus consists of 3 parts. Cervical, that is small, yeah. Abdominal, that is also small, and the largest, it is thoracic part. So cervical part, it is located in the region of cervix. Thoracic part is located in the posterior mediastinum. What is mediastinum? We will discuss it later. And so abdominal part, we can see it, it is the only part that we can see. Here it is, abdominal part of the esophagus, and here it is also. Here we can see it. Here, this is abdominal part of the esophagus. So its abdominal part of the esophagus starts after esophagus passes through the diaphragm, through the esophageal hiatus of the diaphragm. Yes, so below esophageal hiatus of the diaphragm. It was holotopy. Syntopy. Syntopy of the esophagus. So above the esophagus there is pharynx, laryngopharynx, we have already said it, yes. Below it is esophagus, or should I go to stomach, sorry. Then this is anatomic position. So in front of the esophagus there is trachea. Here it is, yes. In front there is trachea. So laterally there are vagus nerves. You will study it later. Okay. And behind there is a vertebral colon, of course, yes. Thoracic part of vertebral colon and cervical also. So you have to know that the lumen, the diameter of the esophagus is not equal. Yeah, it is not equal at all the levels. So there are 3 or 4 constrictions of the esophagus. So first constriction is located, first constriction is located at the superior boundary of the esophagus, it is known pharyngoesophageal constriction, in the place where pharynx continues to the esophagus. The last one is located, it is diaphragmatic constriction, where esophagus passes through the esophageal hiatus of the diaphragm. There are two more constrictions. It is aortic hiatus, aortic constriction. It is, no, like we cannot see it here, but it is where esophagus is crossed by arch of the aorta, and there is bronchial constriction where esophagus is crossed, it's at the level of the fifth thoracic vertebra here, where esophagus is crossed by the left principal bronchus. That's it. So 4 constrictions. Now about internal structure. Yes, so it's hollow organ, as we have already said. And so then there are 4 layers in the wall. Yes, there is mucosa. Mucosa is covered by also a stratified non-keratinized squamous epithelium. And then there is submucosa. And submucosa contributes to the formation of the folds. But folds, like in the esophagus, if you look at the fold in the esophagus, we will see it. I think so. Yes, look. That folds in the esophagus, nearly you can see it, folds in the esophagus, they are not transverse as everywhere in different other parts of digestive tract, but they are longitudinal. They are longitudinal folds. They are about 10 to 11 folds. They are longitudinal. Why do we need these longitudinal folds in the esophagus? Why do we need this longitudinal folds in the esophagus?
Longitudinal. To digest.
Digest.
To pass.
And look, one more thing. Yes, I told you that esophagus is located behind the trachea, and trachea is formed by cartilages. And these cartilages, they are semilunar, and they are present everywhere, laterally, anteriorly, but they are not present in the posterior part. So here it is just like soft connective tissue membrane. Why is it also so? Why is, as you know, cartilages here in the posterior part of the trachea?
To pass the food?
To pass the food. How? Yes, it is for the passage of the food. So we swallow, and we actually can swallow different boluses, different pieces. Yes, sometimes we swallow very big pieces, and not to prevent these pieces will stuck in the esophagus, there are these longitudinal folds, so they can be stretched and they can increase diameter of the esophagus. Yes, and the same thing is here. It is soft. That's why if a large piece of the food passes, so esophagus can even protrude a little bit into the trachea for a time, just so for the big piece of the food to pass and reach stomach.
It increases space to pass.
It increases diameter.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Then there is muscular layer, and in the muscular layer there are 2 layers, circular and longitudinal. And as we have already said, in the proximal 1/3 it is striated muscular tissue, and in the distal 1/3 it is smooth, and in the middle 1/3 like there is, yes, mixed, both striated and smooth. And most part of the esophagus, I mean cervical and thoracic part of the esophagus, from outside is covered by adventitia, and only abdominal part of the esophagus is covered by peritoneum, so it's covered by serosa. Okay, and that was about esophagus. And the last thing that you are going to study for the next lesson, it is stomach. Yes. So this is stomach, ventriculus auguster. This one. Here you can see it also. This is stomach. Here you can see also this is stomach. Yes. So it is again organ of digestive system that. Что это? What is it?
It's for dermatology. It's lecture online.
So now it started.
Online, yes.
Why are you not listening?
Because you will send us the presentation.
But you should listen. He is saying probably something
No, he's just
important.
reading.
He is saying there is nothing to read. There is
No.
nothing to read, you see?
But now he's silent. He's mute.
Okay.
If there is any word, he will read. If there is not, just silent.
But won't he describe what is on the picture?
No, just read what the like picture said.
Why you take care by online lectures so much?
Because you should attend classes. Then you will say that they didn't teach you, but they are teaching. An organ of digestive system, function of the stomach, yes? It is chemical digestion. So here in the stomach, proteins start to digest, and also lipids, not all the lipids, but lipids of milk, especially lipids of breast milk for the newborns. And what else can we see? That there is a Castle's factor, special substance that is produced here also by mucosa of stomach. And this Castle's factor, it is like a substance that helps to bond vitamin B12. And this vitamin B12 is absorbed later somewhere in the intestines. And deficiency of vitamin B12 causes anemia, yes, a low level of hemoglobin. Okay, so these are the main functions of the stomach. So food spends in the stomach from 4 to 6 hours. It depends on the composition of the food, yes, like meat spends the largest time, and for example something sweet, it doesn't stay here long because there are no enzymes for digestion of carbohydrates here, yes. So about the topography of the stomach, we have already said today that skeletotopy, it goes from the 11th thoracic up to the first lumbar vertebra, and holotopy, we also think that 3/4 of it are located in the left hypochondric region and 1/4 is located in the proper epigastric region, yes. What else should, yes, syntopy. So here we can see that in front and medially from the stomach there is left lobe of the liver, and distally it continues to the duodenum, and below it there is pancreas, and behind it there is spleen. Now we will see it. This one, this is spleen, that's it. Okay, and so below it also there is transverse colon. Okay, and that is enough. Fine. So this is anatomic position of the stomach, like that. So cardiac opening, this one, it is directed upward, and this is pyloric opening. It is directed like medially and a little bit downward. Okay, so this is stomach. Externally, we can see it consists of several parts. This is fundus. Above this cardiac opening, there is fundus, and here there is corpus, body, and then there is pyloric part that it consists of two parts, like dilated part, it is pyloric antrum, and then this narrowed part, it is pyloric canal. And also we can see that there are two margins. This medial margin is named lesser curvature, curvatura minor, and this lateral margin is named greater curvature, curvatura major. Okay. What did I want to say? I forgot now. Okay. And so now internally, you see that there are numerous folds. They are longitudinal and transverse, and between them there are depressions, so-called gastric pits, yes? And so at the lesser curvature, there is longitudinal fold along which liquids pass. So solid food, it stays in the stomach for a long time. I told you from 4 to 6 hours, yes? And then liquid doesn't stay here long, and just along this lesser curvature, it reaches pyloric canal, and it leaves and it enters the duodenum.
This folds for absorption of.
Yes, I forgot to tell you one more thing. Absorption starts in the stomach, yes, but water is absorbed, and also some vitamins are absorbed here, and also alcohol is the first that starts to be absorbed here. That's why, for example, if person decided to drink an alcohol and stomach is empty, he will get drunk much faster than a person whose stomach is full, yes, because alcohol is absorbed in the stomach. Okay, yes, for the absorption also and for the digestion. Okay, so it is hollow organ. It has several layers like mucosa, submucosa, and muscular layer, and it is covered by peritoneum from all the sides. So it is covered by serosa. It's intraperitoneal organ.
Doctor, how I know that it's contain mucosa, submucosa?
I'm telling you, it's written in the book. And I told you, nearly every hollow organ has the same structure.
Okay.
So this is mucosa. This is like serosa. Yes, you see it is shining. And for example, what? No, for example, here there is no serosa. Yes, it is just adventitia. Okay, so mucosa is covered by columnar or cuboidal epithelium, simple columnar epithelium, and in the mucosa there are different cells. Yes, like there are chief cells, parietal cells, and mucous cells, which produce different substances. Chief cells produce pepsinogen. It is an enzyme, non-active enzyme, that is excreted to the stomach to digest, to be transformed into pepsin by means of hydrochloric acid and to digest proteins. Yes. Then parietal cells, they produce hydrochloric acid, HCl, which make acidity of stomach very high. Yes, and to kill the bacteria. And yes. Okay, yes, that is the main function. And mucous cells, they produce mucus, and this mucus, it lines the mucosa, and the main function of mucus in the stomach, it is to protect its mucosa from the self-digestion by hydrochloric acid and by the pepsin, yes, self-digestion. Okay. These are the main cells of the mucosa of the stomach. Then there is some mucosa, and so you can see some mucosa is very well developed because there are numerous folds. And there is muscular layer, and muscular layer in stomach has 3 layers. Like there is circular layer, and circular layer forms 2 sphincters. Cardiac sphincter, this one, that is between esophagus and stomach, yes. And pyloric sphincter is between stomach and duodenum. And so there is the other layer longitudinal and also oblique. And so the outermost layer, as I told you, it is serosa. It is serosa. And that is all I think that I wanted to tell you. That's what you have to study for the next lesson.